2 flyers just of runs coming up this weekend. 5 miles away and filled up the tank, we'd only save about $1.50 here. Let's look at this Hobby Lobby style here. The minimum wage now for a full-time employee, $14 an hour. Multiply that then by 40 hours in a week, 52 weeks a year, and you're looking at a minimum wage of $29,000 a year for a full-time worker. Limit a sales tax proposal to no more than a quarter cent. So on a $5 purchase, that's just more than a penny. Detectives were trying to stop a 25-year-old man who had a felony DWI warrant out. They were also looking to question him in a homicide investigation. A manager here at Dublin's Pass says it's normally not this quiet during happy hour, and one look outside will show you why. We'll save it about $2 billion. We're talking about things that are going to be about 3 times as tall as the chapel itself. It's an empty bottle, and it's staying empty. That's because Super Bowl Sunday will be night times last night.
It's my wife.
When the smoke cleared, so did Jim Knight's customers. What you're really going to want to watch, Ashley, is neighborhoods like this one, these small neighborhoods off of the main roads that have a lot of work that need to be done. I want to show you this right here. We actually just saw a truck drive through here that fishtailed just a little bit driving through. I'm just going to go pretty slowly here. And if you look at my wheels, you should be able to see that we skidded a little bit. The ABS kicked in here. Again, that's because on the roads here, we're seeing some compacted sleet and some ice, making it very slick back here. These are on the side roads. Today we found out, though, it's not just about safe and clear roads, it's about clear cars. If this earth could talk, what would it say? Grass is growing above soil watered by tears, stained by blood.
My sister, Melissa, did the ultimate thing any mother would do in her final hour, and that was to protect her baby.
If this earth could talk, would it mention the sound? The lone bagpiper, the cries, the speeches.
What I've witnessed here in the last week is the miracle of the human spirit.
Bulldozers, and now the children laughing. 2 years ago, this earth heard mothers weeping.
Took a while, we got to rebuild.
The city is reaching up, building up, just as these blades extend toward the sky. Where homes laid in splinters, the walls of Kenneth Hasp's house now stand firm.
I went to the middle bedroom and got down in there.
Haas survived the storm in the spot he's lived in for 50 years. Even an EF5 couldn't move him.
First thing we did, we walked out, we went through the front way out, looked down to St. John's Hospital, and we knew darn well that it was really a bad storm.
One hospital now gone, with another rising, where broken hearts persevered, mending souls hold strong. So what would this earth say?
Probably think about like what we do. I mean, you know, it's a rough go for it.
2 years, it may not seem so long ago.
Healing, it just takes time, you know.
Counting the way this town had to count on May 22nd, 2011, and Joplin has endured more than 1,051,000 minutes since this earth first witnessed the darkness of the storm. Firefighters in Springfield have been making Mayday calls this week, but they're not real. It's all for practice. They're trying to prepare for rescuing one of their own.
Arrive to a house fire.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. I'm going to use your traps. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Mayday's an issue. The firefighter's lost, disoriented. He's out of air.
Before the first firefighter disappears into the smoke,
Mayday traffic, go ahead.
Captain John Rosie Greer prepares the group.
So we'll just kind of switch it up.
They put on their gloves, helmets. What's not hindered by pounds of gear and clothes is clouded by the smoke the moment they enter the door.
You can't see, so you follow around, follow your guys, stay close.
In the darkness, the call comes out.
The firefighters are the rescuers, not the rescuees. So it would be the floor collapse.
Command copies. Engine 11,
A
firefighters.
crew trapped inside.
The third member may be lost and disoriented. We want to get the guys used to having that radio in their hand and calling that Mayday. That's not typically something firefighters do. Firefighters are there to fix the problem, not be a problem.
Going into the unknown, knowing the dangers, that's routine here.
Been working hard to get here.
Luke Prophet started as a firefighter in September.
As far as the difference between pulling somebody out that's just a victim or pulling out somebody that's one of our guys, we have all of our gear that gets caught on stuff in your packs, and it's just heavier, more cumbersome, a little more intense probably because it's one of our own.
And with this rescue complete, Captain Greer hopes the only time he hears that Mayday call
It's not something that we ever want to hear on the radio.
in a house like this one, with no flames, plenty of firefighters, and the relief of knowing when they go back to the station, everyone's coming back unharmed. On a typical summer day, you'd find kids and campers scattered through the woods around the Kayakima Boy Scout reservation. Now the only hiking or boating is in search of one child in this 900-acre area. Teams of people walking through the woods are growing tired. Volunteer Gary Tanner is trying to ignore his exhaustion.
You just do everything you can to try to find that boy.
Tanner started looking for Caleb on the third day of the search. He has children of his own.
We've combed a big area down here. This side of the river and the other.
It's hard to sleep at night when he's not there. So we've got cadaver dogs, we've got divers that we're fixing to load up and go search a spot right now.
Dozens of searchers walked through the woods the day Caleb disappeared. The numbers grew on Sunday. By day 3, deputies estimate almost 300 people were helping look for the 4-year-old child.
Most of them said, if it was my kid, I'd hope y'all would have this out here for mine.
Fulton County Sheriff Kenneth Foley still calls this a search and rescue mission. And as the sun goes down, volunteers are surely thinking about Caleb and their own children as they prepare for another long day. Shopping, driving, filling out forms, and getting on social media can all feed into this system. Any number of things you do every day can help build a profile of you that you never see. Tonight, we explore the world of privacy for sale. How much do you know about Shane Dodson? He uses social media, and he's selective about what he reveals.
I try to keep it limited, no phone numbers, email I don't use.
Despite his efforts, there is likely information about him out there Dodson doesn't know about. Companies are collecting a much more extensive profile than your Facebook page, one you can't see. It goes beyond a bio. Try social security number, criminal history, home value, net worth, your religion, interests, and much more.
Their activities, their friends, their friendships, their romantic lives are all being tracked in excruciating detail on the internet. It's pretty clear that probably not even your spouse knows how much the internet knows about you.
That's the founder and CEO of Reputation.com, Michael Fairtick.
Reputation.com protects your privacy and reputation on the internet.
Fairtick says you may check terms of service to okay this trade, or businesses can find some information elsewhere.
And so the guys who are buying and selling this information without your knowledge or permission and selling it to people you can't identify for purposes you can never know, what they say is, hey, this is lawful, this is okay, because the rules say that we're allowed to collect this, what's called publicly available data.
Some of that comes from the driver's license office.
I just moved here from Massachusetts a couple weeks ago.
Dodson is getting his Missouri license after moving here from Massachusetts. That means Missouri can sell his information with some limits.
Your personal information, the government, selling your stuff to who knows? For what reason?
Which brings us here to Jefferson City.
Think they need the whole list?
State Representative Chris Kelly says he'd like to make it illegal for Missouri to sell your information, and at a minimum, he'd like to stop other companies from reselling it.
There are 4,700 buyers out there, data miners and junk mail people, and there's legitimate uses like insurance companies and things like that. But there's really no limit on it at all, no reasonable limit, because the stuff is so easy to resell.
So we made an official request for records from the Missouri Department of Revenue, and we found that companies and individuals are making hundreds of thousands of requests each year for your personal information.
We basically charge what it costs us to produce that information.
That comes out to nearly $2.3 million during the last 2 fiscal years. Missouri Department of Revenue spokesperson Ted Farnan says the department is following state and federal mandates. Under those laws, insurance companies, businesses doing research, employers, towing companies, private investigators, and others are allowed to get your information. It's more difficult for bulk mailers to obtain it.
Our Compliance and Investigation Bureau can investigate that application. We can turn it down. We have done that before. If we find that people are not using the information for the reasons they've said, that's also something that we can take action on.
Now, there are theoretical rules about that, but they're all self-enforcing. I went to buy the list, and I just had to fill out a form and say what I would and wouldn't do. There's no way to prove what I did or didn't do. It's just absolutely an open market on personal information.
The addresses and names on the license are one piece in a patchwork, all about you. Fairtech says the material isn't just for marketing. Increasingly, companies are using it for more substantial purposes.
And the roadmap includes things like how to assess your healthcare insurance premiums, whether to give you a certain kind of job, whether to extend you credit and on what terms, what prices to charge you for e-commerce goods.
Kind of scary because, I mean, they'll just compile what they want.
The Revenue Department wasn't able to give us an example of any place at a license office it tells drivers their information may be sold, and it wasn't aware of any way for most of us to keep those records private.
Kevin joins us now. So is all this legal?
The short answer is yes here. The Department of Revenue is following the laws as they exist. 97% of the money that comes into the state through this is supposed to go into the highway fund. Social Security numbers and photos are also much more restricted. The state can't give out that information unless it's for a criminal investigation, for example. However, the Federal Trade Commission is looking in to the major players in the data broker industry.